The biggest card in Fight Pass history, and it's going to be airing here in Canada on Fight Network, headlined by former middleweight champion and the man that joins us now from London. He is Michael Bisping, and Michael, I know this will be quite the birthday present for you if you get to celebrate on Sunday with, I think, the biggest win of your career over Anderson Silva.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this fight is the result of a lifetime's work, to be honest. Anderson is somebody that I've wanted to fight for a long time, as we all know. I always thought I could beat Anderson, and now I get a chance to prove that. Of course, I'm not going to lie. Of course, this isn't the best version of Anderson Silva that there has been. But that said, it's still a tough challenge, and I've trained like I never have done. I've dedicated myself like never before, and I'm more than ready for this fight. And believe you me, the day after that fight is my birthday, and I will be celebrating. Mark my words.
Michael, one of the things that people love about Anderson Silva is his ability to fight seemingly stress-free and get into that flow state right away. Can you tell us your version of that? What does it mean for you to get into that state?
Well, Anderson, you know, one of the things that makes him so capable and confident when he fights is that he is very relaxed. You know, he doesn't really... you know, he doesn't stress out in the fight, which is incredibly hard to do. Even with the amount of experience that I have these days, it's still very hard to remain fully relaxed and composed. The more relaxed you are and the more composed you are, the better you perform. A great example of that right now is Conor McGregor. You know, the guy is completely at ease inside the octagon. Of course, when things are going your way, that certainly helps. But we saw this with Anderson in the past. This aura of invincibility that he had that was due to his confidence. And many guys were beaten before the fight even started. And the mental aspect of the fight game is something that I've worked on very, very hard in this training camp, and something that I've made real leaps and bounds in. And physically and mentally, I'm in the best shape I ever have been.
Hey, Michael, Robin Black here. I like to break down fighters. And tell me if I got this one right. Anderson Silva, to beat him even at his best, you need a guy who's got great advanced basics, really good positional fighting within the cage, a good mind and good pressure, and a guy who is always a game day performer. That sounds to me like Michael Bisping.
Yes, well, the thing about Anderson, as you said, all of those things, he does do very well. And the most impressive thing about Anderson is his reflexes. You know, he's able to react so fast to what his opponents are doing. His head movement is second to none, and of course his strikes, but more importantly his finishing ability. When you break Anderson down, you know, certainly his boxing isn't at the highest level. He's not the best boxer, far from it. And he's not actually a power puncher, but that said, he does have amazing finishing ability, and that's due to his accuracy, his timing, and his reflexes. So, of course, you know, that's a very, very difficult opponent. But myself, you know, I'm certainly not a slow fighter. You know, I think I'm faster than Anderson, certainly faster on the feet. I don't think he's fought anybody with the footwork or the movement that I have, that I use, my lateral movement, my in and out movement, and certainly my volume of striking as well. He's never fought anybody like that, and he's never fought anybody with the well-roundedness as well. I'm pretty sure I can take Anderson down. I'm pretty sure that my wrestling work will pay off. I've worked very hard on my wrestling, and I will be taking this fight to the floor at some point, believe you me. So you put all these things together, and of course, you know, I can take a punch as well. So if he does connect with me, I'm pretty sure I can take it. We don't see him using his kicks as much as he used to when he was younger. For whatever reason that may be, I don't know, but he doesn't leg kick like he used to. But that said, he's still tall. He's very rangy. He's very quick. But listen, he ain't the best. He ain't the best he's ever been. And I can cut the bullshit now because I'm getting bored with being nice. Anderson's going to get his ass kicked on Saturday night. It's as simple as that. When I look at him, I see a very beatable fighter, a guy that his best days are behind him, and a guy that will lose on Saturday night and then enjoy retirement for the rest of his years.
You know, you mentioned working on the mental game, and I think that is at play here in the sense that he seems to want to get you emotional. And yet that seems to us like a very bad idea, because you've said many times you like to be emotional. You use that when you fight. And in this case, the fact that you're now kind of a little irritated at him, is this a good thing for you?
Yeah, in the past I used to try and become emotional in my fights. And I used to feel that that was better for me. Certainly when I'm emotional, I am very hard to deal with. And inside the octagon and outside of the octagon, unfortunately. And I am an emotional guy. But with experience, I've learned that you know, those emotions are detrimental to a fighter. So I'm really working hard to handle that. And, you know, regardless, I feel that this is my time. The training that I have done will pay off. The hard work that I've put in over the years. And, you know, and let's remember, Anderson failed his steroid test in his last fight, and that was the first time that he was tested in his career randomly. So I think it's safe to assume he was using it throughout his whole career. He's been randomly tested throughout this training camp, so I'm assuming he hasn't been able to use steroids. He's getting older. He's not the invincible Anderson Silva anymore. He got beat twice off Chris Weidman, and then he lost, you know, he looked very beatable against Nick Diaz. So all these things together, it's going to be my fight on Saturday night, believe you me. That said, I never underestimate anybody.
Michael, obviously when we talk to many fighters, they talk about the importance of experience. Are you hoping when you get into the cage with Anderson Silva, or maybe in your past fights, you're always looking to come out of this fight with a new experience, something that maybe you've never dealt with throughout your career?
Well, if you look at Anderson's career, of course, he's got almost 40 fights. And myself, I'm in the mid to high 30s as well. So we're both very, very experienced. I think, hopefully, my experience, the way it's going to pay off is that when you look at Anderson's opponents, certainly a lot of the fighters he's fought in the past, the fight was over before it even started. These guys were beaten mentally before before the referee even said fight. It was lost not only at the scale, they knew from the moment they were signing that bout agreement they were going to lose that fight. And they fought accordingly. You could see it in their body language when they entered the octagon. You could see it in their body language in the way they fight. They were terrified of Anderson. They really were. So I'm not going to give him that same luxury. And now, of course, it's easy for me to say and sit here and say that, you know, doing a Skype interview. I have to put that into theory when I'm fighting him on the night. But I'm sure my experience will help me achieve that. I'm afraid of no man, and I certainly don't start with 41-year-old pensioners.
You know, Michael, throughout your career, you've come so close to fighting Anderson Silva in the past when he was the champion. Was this always a stylistic fight that you felt suited you, or was the chase of this always what Anderson Silva represented as the middleweight champion? I guess, are you approaching this as this fight that you have been preparing for years at this point?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, you never underestimate your opponent. That's rule number one in fighting, and I've never done that. I've always trained and prepared accordingly, and I've done that in this training camp. I've really left no stone unturned and had the best training camp of my life. I've, you know, done everything I possibly can to achieve victory in this fight. Yeah, and I'm looking at him as the best version, of course, when I'm training. Me now sitting here, of course, I'm building up an image of a man that's very, very beatable. You have to do that. You never go into a fight thinking you're going to get beat. But of course, you have to be aware of what your opponent can do. I've done that. I've watched his tapes. I was around Anderson for a long, long time. I always wanted to fight him. So of course, I followed his career very, very closely over the years. And you know, I didn't even need to watch his tapes in this fight camp. There was no need. Everybody knows Anderson Silva. I've watched him for years. I've always wanted to fight him. So I know him inside out. I know Anderson Silva better than Anderson Silva knows himself. You know, but as I say, he's confident. He feels that he's going to come back and be champion, and he feels that he's going to beat me. And I'm sorry, I'm the wrong person to rebuild your career on. Certainly the wrong person.
Mike, I want to thank you so much for this time. Once again, it's Michael Bisping, Anderson Silva going down Saturday, 4 Eastern here on Fight Network in Canada. Mike, thanks so much for this time.
Really want to say thank you. Thank you for everybody in Canada for the support. And keep up the good work. Really appreciate it. Robin, keep up the good work, my friend.
Thank you, brother.